Kids who rarely get injured are also usually the better players in the game on Saturday. That's not a coincidence. The same thing that keeps them on the pitch is what makes them better when they're on it. Spending 14 years as a physio, I've seen a clear pattern. Parents of these kids understand something about the situation that many do not. Here are some of the things these parents do differently. The parents who manage load well, and we'll get into that, are not just managing how much their child does, they're also managing what type of practice their child does. Repetitive technical work, same drill, same movement, same joint, loaded the same way, over and over, accumulates stress in specific narrow ways. The body adapts, certainly, but it also wears. The same angle, the same tissue, same load pathway, session after session. Variable game-like practice doesn't do that. When the movement changes, because the situation changes, because there's a real opponent, a real decision, the body finds a different solution every time. Different joints, different angles. The stress gets distributed, not concentrated. And that same variety is also how the brain learns to play most effectively. The decisions, the reading what's in front of you, the choices and the pressure, that's what transfers from practice to the game on Saturday. A line drill gives the same answer to the same question every time. The game asks different questions requiring different answers every time. Same environment, two benefits. Understanding the load piece, the bucket, is how you manage the rest. Every child has a physical capacity, like a bucket, a maximum amount of load they can absorb and, crucially, adapt to in a given period. When what goes in exceeds what can come out, something gives. Before I get into what Phil's and Drain said, the free tool I'll point you to at the end of this video is built around exactly this concept, and understanding both sides of the equation is what makes it useful for you. But first, three things fill this bucket. You've got sport load, the obvious one, matches, training sessions, private coaching, gym work, technique sessions, all the deliberate football activities. Then there is the psychological load, academic stress, family stress, social conflict, anxiety. These are not separate from the physical system. And a third thing, almost no one includes in the calculation, biological load. A child at the peak of their growth spurt has a significantly higher fill rate of that bucket than the same child did 6 months ago, with no change in training volume at all. The body is already working hard, and the bucket fills faster, not because anything was added to the schedule, but because one of the inflows got bigger without anyone really noticing. You've got two things that drain the bucket: sleep and rest. Not supplements, not a foam roller, not a cool down jog after training, but simply sleep and rest. Sleep is the most powerful recovery intervention available to any player, particularly young ones, and most training schedules treat it as the variable that gets cut when the session runs late. And when the bucket overflows, what comes out is not a tidy, predictable injury. It's whatever happened to be the weakest link that week or in the moment of a slightly awkward landing. And that weakest link is really hard, some would argue impossible, to predict what is at any given time. Many of us spend considerably more time researching boot technology than we do sleep schedules. The returns on those two investments are not comparable. Kids who don't get injured don't have larger buckets necessarily. They have someone, usually a parent, who's able to see and manage both sides of the equation. The coach can't see both sides, and as a physio, I can tell you that it's a bit late when I try to manage that load because by then the injury has usually already happened. These parents are not doing anything exotic. They're not spending more money. They're doing something simpler and doing it consistently. First, they treat rest as a productive input. A recovery day is not a day wasted. It's a day the bucket empties. The parents who understand this don't apologize for it, and they don't let their child be made to feel like they're falling behind by taking one. Second, they don't double book high load weeks. Tournament weekend coming up might mean the extra Thursday session doesn't happen, not as a punishment, but as load management. The same logic a professional club applies to their first team. There's no reason it shouldn't apply to a 12, 13, 14-year-old. Third, they read the early signals, not just physical ones. They track mood before training, not just soreness after it. That flat energy before a session, the unusual irritability, the persistent low-grade soreness their child has stopped mentioning. That last one might be something to keep note of. When a child stops reporting soreness, it might not be because the soreness has gone necessarily. It could be because they've learned from experience that they'll have to push through it anyway. The absence of complaint is not the absence of load. They are two different things. Fourth, sleep is in the schedule. Not aspirational, but scheduled. If your child has an early school start, the evening session ends at a time that still allows 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep. That's not a soft preference, it's the highest leverage recovery intervention available, and it costs nothing. These are simple things. That's not to say it's easy to do, though. As the saying goes, simple, not easy. But the mistake is a form of misclassification. The need to toughen up or just power through it is the right call in some contexts and actively counterproductive in others. The difference is load. Knowing which situation you're in requires reading and getting a handle of the load, not your child's attitude. The timing is what could make this worse. The growth spurt window, covered in the video here, is the highest structural risk period in a youth player's development. It's also frequently the window where we push hardest because the coordination regression that comes with that rapid growth looks like a failure of motivation. There are two biological events being read as a character problem. The bucket is being filled faster and it might be fuller than it looks. We're asking for more effort at the exact moment the margin is smallest. And yes, other kids are training this week. The question is who is still training, still improving, and still enjoying it in 4 years' time. Managing your child's training load is not falling behind, it's ultimately protecting their long term health. The injury that ends a career at 16 didn't necessarily start at 16. It's just as likely to have started in the overloaded weeks nobody was tracking. You now have an idea what both sides of managing the bucket might look like. You can go manage it this week using the free tool, the Backyard Architect, that you can find in the description below. It builds practice sessions that you can do at home, and it's built around this exact framework. If you want to work with me assessing your child-specific load picture, what's happening to the bucket, what fills it, and what needs to change, you can apply below. If you're not a fit, I'll say so. Thanks for watching. See you next time.